Hello. Hello and welcome everyone to the Science Breakout Room. So we're really excited to have such a great panel of young professionals here with us today. And in this breakout room, we'll be discussing some different things that will be important in the field of science as you continue on to your post-secondary journey. So we'll be hearing from all of these lovely panelists on your screen right now shortly. And please send any questions you have for them over in the chat. And we'll be sure to bring them back to our speakers at the end of their talk. So with that being said, I'll hand it over to our first panelist to get us started. Any panelist who's in this breakout room can get started whenever they're comfortable.
Hi everyone, my name is Annie's Phillip. I am a registered practical nurse at Niagara Health, currently working there, and I've been there for 3 years. I went to St. Paul High School. I graduated 2013. I was part of MIAC prior to that, and now I am currently working.
Hi everyone, I'm Juliana Falala. I also went to St. Paul High School, but I graduated in 2011. As my little picture says, I'm currently a GIS analyst and an environmental scientist at Hatch. But I started out doing a degree in math and biology at Queen's, and then I went to Niagara College for a postgrad. But yeah, so I've been working for 5 years at Hatch.
I can go next. So my name is Shannon Fernandez. I'm the climate change coordinator at the town of Lincoln. I graduated high school in Mississauga in 2011 before getting my bachelor's of science in biology at the University of Waterloo, and then my master's in sustainability management also at Waterloo. I have quite a diverse background career-wise, ranging from supply chain management to e-commerce to waste management and now climate change science. And I'm really excited to speak with everyone today.
Hi, my name is Kaylee and I'm a diagnostic medical sonographer. I do work with Niagara Health and I've been there for about 2.5 years now. I was at a clinic before that, and I did go to St. Michael's High School, and I went to Cambrian College in Sudbury for the Diagnostic Medical Sonography program, and I graduated from that in 2018. Yeah, so if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me.
Hi, I'm Kennedy Knesvich. I'm a registered dental hygienist. I graduated from St. Mike's in 2017, so I'm a pretty fresh graduate. So I was there all in your shoes, asking a bunch of questions and not knowing what to do with my life. I've worked at Apple Bay for about a year now, and any questions regarding dental or oral health, just let me know.
Sorry, you're on mute. Can you hear me now? Okay, so my name's Sam. I'm a medical laboratory technologist. I'm currently working at Niagara Health and Hamilton Health Sciences. I graduated from St. Paul in, I think, 2016. And I've been working at Niagara Health since about May of last year and Hamilton since the beginning of this year. I went to school in Oshawa at the Ontario Tech University, taking medical laboratory science, and I also got my degree, bachelor's degree of health science. If you have any questions at all, I am more than happy to answer them.
Awesome. It's definitely nice to meet you all. If any of the participants have any questions for them at this moment, feel free to write it in chat or just unmute your mic, and I'll get one of the MAYAC moderators to ask a question.
I have a question for Juliana. I know you're a GIS analyst. Could you tell us a little bit more about what that means exactly?
For sure. So if anyone doesn't know what GIS means, it's Geographic Information Systems. So obviously mapping is what comes to most people's minds, Google Maps, Google Earth, that kind of thing. Just to put it out there, I didn't really know what it was when I graduated university. I just knew I needed, or I wanted to get more skill set than I had when I graduated from university to be more employable. But basically what we do, or what I do with mapping, is for in the environmental field, because that's basically all I do all day. But we do a lot of site suitability analysis. So we'll take a project site that we're looking at and add all of the information that's available and map out any environmental constraints, things like that, like wetlands and water bodies and things. But a lot of my day is making project maps to help inform engineering reporting, environmental reporting, Indigenous consultation, things like that. But I do also get to do a lot of 3D modeling and floodplain mapping. So if anyone's ever noticed all of the flooding happening in an area, Hatch actually looks like that and tries to map out risk areas, things like that. I don't have any visuals, so it's kind of hard to show you, but yeah, just general mapping for projects. But yeah, sorry, did I answer your question? I don't know who asked.
That's great, thank you.
Okay.
All right, so the next question that we had was, what types of career opportunities can you get out of an engineering degree, and what are the courses like? I don't know if any of you would be able to speak on that. Or even if it's not engineering, even if it's like medical, like what were your courses kind of like, and what job opportunities did you see coming out of your degree?
I can take a crack at that question. So I have a bachelor's of science in biology, and there are a number of career options that can come out of a degree in biology. And one of the reasons that I chose biology was because when I graduated high school, I didn't exactly know what I wanted to do with my life. I just knew that in high school, I absolutely loved biology, and I loved so much of learning how the world works. When I was in my first year at university, I took a number of elective courses, so in things like geography and psychology and anthropology. And by figuring out what I liked, I was able to move closer towards where I am now. Biology also has, it's one of those programs that can really set you up for a career in things that you're really interested in. So I have peers that graduated from the program that I'm in who are now lawyers, who are now environmental technicians, GIS analysts, environmental scientists, doctors, nurses. I'm trying to think, there's so many out there. Journalists, for example, researchers working in genetics, working in a whole number of different fields. And so it's a really great opportunity, at least for people who aren't sure where they want to go, to look at some of the general science programs, because you'll be able to really take your career and craft it into many, many different directions. I hope that helps.
That's amazing. We have another question in the chat right now. It says, hi, I have a question for Kaylee. I was wondering what schooling is required to become a sonographer.
Okay, so I went to school at Cambrian College, and sometimes they do require a pre-health program. And I know Mac sometimes requires a Bachelor of Health Sciences or pre-health, same thing. But for me, I did just from high school, I changed my courses, and then I went into the program from high school instead. So there's different options. I know a lot of people do recommend pre-health to make sure that you know exactly what you want to go into because it's such a specific program. And you do have the option to branch off to X-ray or MRI instead as well. I hope that answers the question.
Perfect. And then also from a grade 12 student, they were wondering what courses should I focus on to get into a medical related job?
So I guess I could kind of, medical related job is really broad spectrum. Unfortunately, like if you walk into a hospital, I think a lot of people think nurses and doctors, and that's really pretty much quite a bit of, but unfortunately they're from a medical perspective, we even have IT, which is nothing related to if you think about it. But we, in a hospital, we have IT, we have OT, like occupational therapists, we have physiotherapists, we have just you name it, and we have like it's a umbrella. So it depends on what medical field you are talking about. So if it's nursing, I could tell you, you go into nursing school and you graduate, and that's how. So it could be in registered practical nurse, which is the 2-year diploma program, or you could go into the registered nursing, which is the degree in nursing. It's in, but again, like we have people here, the medical Samantha, who's a medical laboratory technologist. That's one of the other careers that we have at the hospital. We just have, it's quite a bit of people that's in the medical field there.
Right. So off of that, let's say that we're still in high school. What courses should we focus on to take that will get us more success in a medical related field?
I can talk about this because I had the same type of struggle. Deciding if you want to go to college and be more hands-on right away or going to university and fulfilling your degree is a lot different. For myself, I was academic all throughout high school. And then when it came to grade 11, beginning grade 12, I realized that I wanted to go to college and become a hygienist. So at this point, the colleges look at just the grade that comes out of the course, I mean. So if you were to get, let's say, a college, let's say 80 in a chemistry or biology or physics, but you're only to get like a 40 or a 50 in the university course, and you're going to university, but you took the college course, they're not going to kind of become equivalent. I don't know if that kind of makes sense. They only look at the grade. So anything medical, really focus on your sciences, your English. If your school does any kinesiology or medical science, things like that, I would focus more on anything that's driven towards those programs.
Awesome. And another one we have here is it difficult to find a job after graduating university?
I can speak on this one really quick. For my profession, at least, it used to be really, really tough to get a job. And now, like, I think it's like 40% of MLTs are going to be retiring in the next 8 to 10 years. So right now, if you want to become a lab technologist, it's the best time. There's no troubles getting a job. There's people that reach out to me every day offering me jobs. Like it's honestly like incredible, the opportunities that you have, whether it's working in a hospital or we also are able to work. Oh my God, my dog is barking. I'm so sorry. If you are wanting to work in a private lab versus a hospital, there's different ways to go about it, but either way, there's so many job opportunities for my profession, at least. I'm not sure how it is for the other health professions right now.
I also just want to add, oh, sorry. Annie, do you want to say something?
Go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to add that coming from a biology and math degree, going into the workforce, I didn't really know what options there were. And maybe that's on me for not fully researching, but I found there's so many postgraduate diplomas where you can take the skills you've learned from university, whatever it may be, and do a 1-year diploma and learn a hard or soft computer skill, or get more specialized into what you've actually done in university, but more work applied, because college would give you more the applied skills that kind of employers look for. It's not necessarily for every program. If you know what you want to do with your biology degree and do a master's or go into research, it's different. But I just find with general science degrees, if you haven't specialized or found the kind of niche that you're in, it's kind of nice to do a little 1-year program to get that extra specialization. Anyways, that's the path I know many people in my department have taken. They've done environmental science or they've done biology, and they just kind of want to get a little bit more of the real world policy planning kind of side of things. So just adding that.
I just want to add to be an MLT, you also don't need a degree. I don't know if anybody's wondering about that, but basically you can just go to college for 2 years, or you can get a degree as well. It is not a requirement right now. I'm not sure if it ever will be in the future, but if anybody's looking for that, it's really great for hands-on. And even the program that I took in Oshawa, it was university, but it was very, very hands-on. Like the first 2 years were very general, but then the last 2, you were basically in the lab the whole time. So I feel like it was almost more of a college hands-on experience halfway through the program. I don't know if anybody is interested in that.
That was awesome. Thank you, everyone. We have a question in chat here. Hi, I'm a grade 9 student. I'm wondering to know that if I want to become a pediatrician, what courses should I take in university? Has the special courses for pediatrician to study, or all medical students will study the same courses?
Maybe I'll, oh, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm not too sure myself, but I'm guessing you have to go to like a medical school and then specialize more in pediatrics. I don't know if anyone else has more information on that.
I'm not very, I don't know too much about pediatricians specifically. I do have friends that did go into medical schools. So quite a bit of them, what they did was the health sciences program at Brock. McMaster also offers I believe it's like health sciences or medical sciences. Usually that's the degree that most people take in order for them to get into medical school. And then obviously in order for you to be a pediatrician specifically, you'll have to go into specialization from there. So that's most of the knowledge that I have.
I can add on. Sorry.
No, go ahead. No.
I can add on. I know a number of people from the University of Waterloo who went into medical school, and their degrees ranged from kinesiology to health studies to biology, biochemistry. But if you know that you are looking into a specific type of medicine, for example, there are also a lot of courses you can take as electives in and around that area. So I know you could take, for example, child psychology, you could take social work courses at the University of Waterloo. So there are a number of ways to complement your degree with some of your elective courses that you may have a particular interest in, that may help you learn a few of those additional skills along the way when you do eventually move to medical school and have the opportunity to specialize in pediatrics.
Hi there. We have another question in the chat. It says, this is a question for anyone. So it says, what drew you to the science field and what are your specific areas that you enjoy?
So I could kind of say for myself, I did not know what to do. Getting to grade 12, I was like, you are picking a career that you're going to do for the rest of your life. So I was in a way where my mother and my dad, like my mom and my dad, are both nurses. So I was kind of already inclined towards that. The fact that obviously I don't, like I said, I don't know too much about other careers as much, but I do know a lot of them require further studies in order for you to have a job. Nursing is one of those fields where you go to school, you do your 2 years, 4 years, whichever you do, and you are immediately getting a job. You graduate. I had a job lined up before I even had my license set up. So and I actually had offers from employers to give me a temp license in order for me to work, because that's how short most nursing fields are lately. Especially now with COVID, it's gotten even better for as a field perspective. And that's the only reason I chose to go into nursing. I didn't particularly was like, oh, I want to be a nurse for the rest. Like, I just thought, okay, 2 years, I can do it. I'll have a degree. And then if I decide something else, at least this is something that pays and that does well. Obviously, going into the field and working in it made me change my perspective completely. Taking care of patients, having an impact on someone's life, honestly made me obviously want to continue. So I right now I'm only an RPN because I did not want to put in 4 years of my life and then decide, oh, I hate nursing. So I just did 2 years. So obviously I will be continuing with my nursing career. And that was the other thing about nursing field that I preferred, is that if I wanted to be a teacher, actually I could be a teacher in nursing. I could be a manager in nursing, and I could run a nursing home if I wanted to, as the DOC is more for someone who has a bachelor's degree, but director of wellness. So there is just so many opportunities within the nursing field, is why I specifically chose to go into this field. And that's.
All right, thank you. So Shannon, there's a question directed towards your kind of field that you study in. So what is the current state of the climate in the world right now? And what does your job do to kind of study or help towards that?
The first part's a pretty big question, the state of the climate. I would say that the state of the climate is ready for everyone to take action. Now is the time, pretty much, whether you are a student, whether you are a parent, a teacher, at any level, at every household, at all government levels. I think that the time is to take action about climate change and to make sure that you're paying attention to the news. One of the most important lessons I think that you can learn in STEM is something that is very evident in the climate change field, is the importance of research methods and sourcing and citations. Climate change right now, unfortunately, has a PR problem, in my opinion, where there's a lot of misinformation and fake news out there. But one of the key lessons you'll learn in STEM in any of the programs or in any of the science, technology, engineering, or math and computing fields that you are interested in, is the importance of data validation and being accurate and really understanding your sources and keeping that integrity in the work that you do. Sorry, the second part of the question was what I do in my job today.
Yep.
Correct? Yeah, okay. So I work for a municipality, and my role as a climate change coordinator is to help prepare the town of Lincoln, so its community, for climate change. Right now, I'm working on climate change adaptation. So looking at the different ways climate change is going to affect the things that we do. So how does it affect snow removal? How does it affect people's ability to get water? How does it affect our emergency services? How does flooding impact our residents? What can the town do about all of these things? So I'm working on a plan and working with all levels of government. So working with counselors, working with the Niagara Region, Niagara Health, for example, public health, and trying to put together a list of actions that the town can take across many different fields. So planning, community services, parks and recreation, to help prepare the town for climate change. And that's actually one of the benefits of my sort of general degree in biology, is that I'm able to communicate with a number of different specialists. So I'm able to talk to planners, I'm able to talk to engineers, I'm able to talk to our communications department, and really help bring everybody together to the table to help solve this crisis in the ways that we're able to. And so this really goes back to the presentation earlier about some of the skills that you would need in a STEM degree, and and one of them really being communication, and being able to, translate the science to other people who aren't specialists in what you do, in order to work with people and effect change.
Our next question was, are there any volunteering opportunities for high school students in Niagara that are related to any of your fields?
So I can tell within Niagara Health, we do offer a volunteering. Unfortunately, it was stopped due to COVID at the beginning of the year, but I believe it has been restarted. And they usually just kind of go around, kind of speak with. Sometimes they'll wheel the patients into like their exercise rooms, simple jobs like that. But they do take volunteers at the Niagara Health locations, and as well, I believe Region takes in quite a bit for the long-term cares, as well as the I'm not sure about the offices that the Niagara Region has, but I do know they do take volunteers into the nursing homes.
I also want to say, if you're interested in environmental science or biology, you can always volunteer with the Conservation Authority. So that'd be the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority. And I know they have garbage cleanup days and tree planting, and you can do a bunch of cool things in their areas. So it's always a cool other option, even during the summer. I think they also run some programs too, like summer camps, if you wanted to get involved with that. Getting outside is always good.
I can add into, I don't think there's particularly any volunteer things that you can do within the lab, unfortunately. But if anybody is interested, you can reach out to me through email. And I know it's a lot easier to like kind of see if something is interesting to you when you're actually in the like environment. So for me, like I decided that I wanted to work in the lab when I was like, I actually went on a tour of the lab and I experienced the environment and the workflow and all that kind of stuff. So I think that really helps, even if you can't volunteer, to reach out to someone and just see if you can like shadow for a day. I know volunteering is obviously great on resumes and for applications, but even if it's just taking an hour or two to just actually go and see like the environment and what it's like, and whether or not you can picture yourself in that environment in the future.
Another thing too, I think it's this weekend, but Niagara College is doing an open house. I know because of COVID and everything, it's not ideal because you can't walk around the campus, but the dental setting, you can always reach out to one of myself and I can give you contacts. You can take a tour of the clinic, see what it's all about. It's not your typical dental setting because there's a lot of operatories because there's a lot of students. But any questions, kind of like what Sam said, you're more than welcome to email me. Any questions or concerns, just let me know.
Yeah, similar with ultrasound, we don't have specific to our department, but maybe we can work something out similar to what the other girls said. I know I did do volunteering at the hospital when I was in high school. It was more for the day surgery unit and for the emergency department. And even though it's like little jobs like stocking shelves and stuff, it was still really nice to get oriented and kind of meet familiar faces for later on when I did start working there. So I do recommend it. It's really nice to kind of get used to your environment. But for the site specific one for ultrasound, maybe we can just see what other options there are too.
I forget my thought. I wanted to add to that. For me, like the reason I went this career path was because I wanted to be in health science, just because I think there's always going to be room for job opportunity. It's something that's always going to be there. But specifically, the reason I went into the lab is because I wanted to help people without actually like interacting with them face to face. So I just feel like it's really great for anybody that likes to be behind the scenes. Just wanted to add that in there.
That was awesome. Thank you all so much. Does anyone have any advice for soon-to-be university students?
Not necessarily advice, but thinking back on it now, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I think keeping an open mind and not being stressed out about being pigeonholed into a specific degree kind of helped. So I know of some universities, the one I went to, you didn't have to specialize your first year and you could kind of take a feel for what you wanted and kind of choose that. But even if you go and you don't like it, you can always switch. So I just think looking back on it, no one really told me that. And even if it takes you an extra year to do what you want to do, like I wouldn't stress. I just wanted to impart that information on you because we didn't have this 10 years ago when I went to university, and I wish we did. But yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly with what Juliana said. I had no idea what I wanted to do in grade 12. In fact, I applied to 6 science programs and then 6 arts programs. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to postpone that decision until I get my acceptances and then see what I'm dealing with. But one thing you can remember is that if you're trying to decide between a couple of things, you have options. You can always, like I did, I picked biology, but I have a minor in geography. I have a specialization in environmental biology. I know peers who specialized in chemistry and psychology and a whole number of things. One of the things that I highly recommend is whatever university you're interested in, or even universities that you may not be interested in, go to their websites and look at the programs that they have to offer, because I guarantee you the programs in science are much more varied than just biology, chemistry, and physics or engineering. And I didn't do that. And so I wish I had, because when I showed up at university, there were a number of cool programs like environment and business, science and business, double degrees, math and business, double degrees. And I wish I had taken the time in grade 12 to actually go through all of the available options and be like, you know what, I'm kind of interested in this, I'm kind of interested in this. And be able to make yourself aware of what's out there, because especially now, 10 years after I graduated high school, there are hundreds of new programs every year. And just take the time to figure out if what you're interested in is out there, because it probably will be.
All right, we just had a question in the chat. It was, I was torn between going into nursing or sonography, and I was wondering if you guys could talk a bit about what you do in each career.
Okay, so for ultrasound, I work at the hospital setting, and what we do is we take patients in, we go through their history, we look at their previous imaging, and we do the scan. So with ultrasound, even when I was first introduced to it, the first thing I thought was babies. So that's definitely a big part of ultrasound, but there's a lot more too. So there's the obstetrics, so babies. There's pediatrics, so scanning actual babies, their heads, especially spine and hips. There's abdominal, there's pelvic, there's musculoskeletal, vascular, small parts of thyroid, breast, scrotum. Like there's so many different types of ultrasound, and that's just with general sonography or general ultrasound. There's still specializing in vascular, they're specializing in echoes or the heart. So what I like about ultrasound is that there's many branches you can take. And depending on where you go, there's the clinic setting or the hospital setting. So what I like at the hospital is that right now I have the opportunity to specialize in certain areas. So I'm focusing more on pediatrics and musculoskeletal. And yeah, we basically just work with the radiologist, the doctor who reads them. We work together as a team to do the images and even do procedures as well. So I feel like there's so many different branches, like I said, and I think that's about it for ultrasound.
And for nursing, about my career, the name is nursing, but you have to have empathy and respect. You have to be able to interact with people. You're not just taking care of that patient that's yours, you are taking care of that whole family. You are practically the front runner in a where you're taking like simple thing like COVID patients. I can tell you it is lonely being in a room in a four walls by yourselves. So, and for those patients, I am the only face that they see I'm there for 12 hours. So my face is the one that they see. Even actually, they don't even see my face. They see this much. I wear a mask and a face shield and a gown all day long. And so actually patients don't really even see my face anymore. Before COVID, they used to come and hold our hand or hug us, because sometimes we do have a lot of people that don't have families, or it depends on. So my career is very much hands-on. Again, it does depend which field or which side or field of nursing that you go into. Right now, I'm in a general medicine floor, which has quite a bit of I see everything from medical patients to surgical patients. But again, there is pediatric nursing, which is they're dealing with the pediatric kids. And again, you're not taking care of just the kids, you are taking care of the families as well. And so it depends how you decide about it. But again, for nursing, it is a very much people job. You are speaking with different fields. I'm talking pharmacy, physiotherapy, OT, PT, doctors. They all come to the nurse to ask, oh, how's this patient doing? And again, family members, social workers, discharge planners, and these are just a few. And there are a number of other fields that are involved in the hospital settings. So if you're not a people person, if you are not a person that is talking with, if you're not comfortable with being with other people, this is definitely not a job for someone that's more introvert.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I feel like ultrasound is similar with you have to be a people person. You have to really, patient care is really important. So you have to be able to communicate with the patient. Like we can't give results. And a lot of people are upset by that. A lot of patients are going through their own things. They're angry, they're upset, they're hurting. And you just have to try your best to word things certain ways and be there for them as much as you can. And I know with COVID, you're wearing the gown, mask, gloves, and you can really only sort of hug people with the gown on and everything. But it's just the little things, getting them a pillow when their head's too low and stuff like that. And I really liked going to school for ultrasound because the clinic was the biggest thing. Just seeing how different people work with patients. Like you can tell if someone doesn't have great bedside manner, the patient isn't happy. It's not a good experience. So it's all about the patient and making sure that they're getting the best care that they can get.
An unrelated question I have is, this is more directed towards Kennedy. What made you choose like a dental hygienist rather than, let's say, registered practical nurse, for example?
So this is totally weird, but as a kid, I always liked teeth. I always loved going to the dentist. I have an older sister who is petrified of the dentist. So dealing with her dental anxiety and things like that, I just wanted to be that person that helped these people overcome their fears. Originally, I wanted to be an orthodontist because I have a crazy last name and it sounded like dentistry and things like that was my route. Nursing, I always tossed between nursing and hygiene. The only thing about nursing was there's a lot of things that they deal with patient care and almost like life and death that I couldn't bring my heart to do it. So that's why I kind of chose the hygiene route. But I don't know if that kind of answers the question.
Yeah, that does. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
I did forget to say, for the whoever asked about the career, there is also the one thing, attention to details in nursing as well. Because right now, like Kennedy was saying, it is dealing with people's lives that you have to pay attention to a patient and what's going wrong. Because sometimes simple thing like, have you peed, can change that person's what's going on. So that is something that is part of our career, and you do deal quite a bit about if a nurse has been ignorant or hasn't paid attention to something, and I come on the next shift or somebody else follows me and I hadn't done, it does affect that patient, and unfortunately it does affect their lives sometimes, unfortunately. And I mean, we are humans, there's only so much we as humans can do, but it is quite a bit of life, like it does affect somebody else's life.
Another thing about dental, you're not just only focused on the teeth, you're also focused on the rest of the body because they kind of go hand in hand. So your oral health contributes to the rest of your health. So if you have poor oral hygiene, things like that, you're at a higher risk of developing any other conditions like heart conditions and things like that as well. So you have to always educate your patient. You got to contact their doctors and things like that. So you're kind of involved with everyone in their line of care.
That's amazing. So we have a lot of strong women in this call, and someone was wondering, do you find that there are any added barriers in the STEM field in terms of this?
I can start, and the answer is yes. Being in STEM has generally been a very male-dominated field, and there are a lot of challenges that you'll have to face, whether that be being the only woman in a class or being the only woman in a group, for example, for a group project in university. And one of the things that I struggled with was having the confidence to speak my opinion and make sure that my thoughts and ideas were incorporated when we were working in group settings. Another thing that is really a benefit, in my opinion, to going with STEM is that you deal heavily with data, but a lot of the time translating that data and those numbers into what it means for people, for communities, for patients, right, does take a lot of skill. And when you are able to communicate with the data backing you up, it does give you a lot of credibility in front of audiences that may not always be willing to listen to you or give you the credit that you deserve. Another thing that is always going to be a challenge in the STEM field is, of course, equal pay and making sure that you are, thankfully, that's getting better. And I hope when you graduate and you enter the workforce, it's much better. But making sure that you keep those things in mind and that you don't sell yourself short. There's a study that shows that women very often don't apply to jobs because they think that they're underqualified, but men will always apply to jobs, even though they're underqualified, because they think they can do it anyway. And that's true because, and so you just have to remember that there are a lot of skills that you learn in a STEM or in a science field that are very, very transferable and can set you up for success in a number of different types of careers, whether that be communication, data analysis. Just because I did data analysis on, in animals in my biology course does not mean that I'm incapable of doing data analysis in the environment field or in the medical field or things like that. And so being able to really market yourself and not sell yourself short will really help you get far in a field that's historically been very, very male dominated.
For ultrasound specifically, I feel like it's actually the complete opposite. So we have all female techs. We have actually one male student, and that's been in the past 2.5 years I've been there. I think because a lot of people think babies when they think ultrasound, so a lot of women are applying. It's very rare to see male techs or students, so I feel like it's complete opposite in this case.
Oh, are we all talking?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say for me, I think that it's pretty equal between males and females. I don't think that there's I think it's pretty equal. Like thinking of both my workplaces, there's probably equal amounts, but there's never really a time where I feel like less than a male doing the exact same job as me. I think that you just kind of have to remember that you went through the same schooling to get there. You are a professional at what you do. And yeah, I think the only thing would just be like people that maybe are higher up. Sometimes you feel a little less than, but still you have to remember that like you know what you're doing every day and that's what you're an expert at. And if there's something that you think isn't right, like you need to voice your opinion based on your knowledge and just remember that.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it back because I am in the engineering field at Hatch. And funnily enough, my whole department is basically women. There's one man at in my department in the Niagara Falls office. And it's kind of been that way since I've been there for 5 years. We're very female dominated, but we sit with all of the engineers and I see the lack of female representation, whether it just be there wasn't any candidates that applied because engineering is generally a male dominated, but it has changed over the 10 years that I've been out of high school. And Hatch has committed to actually hiring, I think it's by 2030, I'm not sure, I think it's out there, but they're trying to hire at least like 40% women kind of thing. So, and we have a lot of diversity and inclusion, and it's slowly getting better and you feel that there's change happening. But again, you have to advocate for yourself when you're there and speak up when you see things happening. So it's definitely there, but it's getting better.
I kind of agree with Kaylee in a sense. So in school, I only had 3 male hygienists. And in my workplace now, there's only female hygienists, but a lot of our dentists are male. So at first, when I first started, it took a while for me to get the confidence to speak to someone of higher authority who was a male. But I've met so many male hygienists. Don't think it's just the female profession as some make it out to be. But like the other girls said too, just kind of voice your opinion and don't be afraid to speak up.
If I could add, Juliana was very correct in that company culture does make a huge impact. I've worked before working at the town of Lincoln, I worked in the private sector, and I've worked at probably 6 different companies. One was engineering, which was heavily male dominated, especially in my department. And company culture does make a huge difference in the way that women are respected, in the way that minorities are respected. And so taking your time to research companies or job employers before you apply to a job, or even once you're in the interview process, is really important to make sure that you are the right, not only that you are the right fit for the job, but that the job is the right fit for you as well.
That's amazing. Thank you so much to everyone for sharing your stories, and definitely something to keep in mind. We do have a few minutes left, so I think this will be possibly the last question. So someone is asking, what is the best, like what do you enjoy most about your job?
I'll guess I'll say something. For me, I think my favorite part is that every day is very different. There's never this nothing is ever the same. Like for me, I work in core labs. So when I go into work, I work in hematology and transfusion and chemistry. So based on the day and what discipline I'm in, like I could be doing completely different tests. Like hematology, we look at blood smears, we run complete blood counts, we do body fluid counts. Transfusion, I could be issuing blood products to someone that was in a car accident. Plasma, I could be doing group-in screens on a mom and a baby, a mom to see if she needs ROGAM, or a baby to see if there was any fetal, like any bleeding during like the birth of the baby. Chemistry, we do glucose tests on diabetics, like it's all over the place. And this year I actually started doing COVID testing too. So that's another fun thing that I get to do every day, which is different. So I just love that it's different every day and I'm helping people without having to see them.
I guess I can go. So my job is very repetitive, totally different than Sam's. But I love working with people. I love being the reason behind their smile. At every appointment, I ask them, if there's one thing about your smile that I could change for you, what would you do? 9 times out of 10, it's a straighter smile, a whiter smile, fixing a gap, anything like that. And recently, I had a patient reconstruct her entire smile, and she actually left the office in tears because she was so happy. But now she's mad because you have to wear a mask everywhere and she can't show off her smile. So being able to deal with patients and helping them with their oral health and their overall health, and being such an advocate for promoting health and wellness and things like that. I just love having my routine patients come in and tell me about their new grandkids or their daughters getting married and things like that. You kind of develop a connection with these people. It's like they're family to you. And if they didn't have a mask, I'd probably say hi to them in the grocery store and things like that. You just build a bond and a connection, and it's so heartwarming.
I can go next. The two best, I can't narrow down to one, but the two best things about my job is that I absolutely love that I make a difference every day. The environment and climate change are topics that I am very, very passionate about, not only professionally, but also personally. And there hasn't been a single day in this job where I've dreaded going in. And the other thing that I love about my job is exactly what Sam said, is that I'm never bored. You know, there's days where I'll spend 4 hours on Excel, and there are days where I'll spend 4 hours at a booth in our library talking to residents every day about their experiences. I'm a huge nerd, and so being able to learn things that are new is something that I really enjoy. And yeah, those are the two things that I've really been able to get out of my STEM background.
I can go next. I don't know if anyone saw my picture, but I get to go fish at work and do a lot of field work. And I really enjoy that aspect of being out of the office, something different every day. But then I get to come back and put what I've done on paper and help projects further go further along. So then I can go out and say, hey, I helped build that bridge, kind of thing. But again, nothing's the same every day. So you get to enjoy no matter what you're doing.
And I think for myself, I think the most I enjoy is the fact that when a patient is being discharged, that thank you at the end, because technically I saw them from when they maybe some of them couldn't walk, and I helped them slowly get to the simple thing like walking over. I think that's what I enjoy the most, the fact that I did leave a mark on someone's life, like someone and I really enjoy the fact that's